right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 6 p.m. At this time, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilwoman Larson.
Here.
Councilman Wall.
Here.
Councilman Anderson. Absent. Councilwoman Galeen.
Here.
Councilman Hawkins. Absent. Vice Mayor Woolridge.
Here.
Mayor Walter.
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I just want to note at this time that Councilmember Anderson and Councilmember Hawkins had prearranged their absence this evening. I would also like to begin with a moment of silence followed by a pledge of allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin with a call to the public. I do not have any at this time in front of me. Is there any members of the public that would like to speak at this time? Yes, Mr. Rankin.
Just one thing, and it can be put on the agenda for another year, but I'd just like to wish Councilmember Karen Wall a happy birthday. And next year, we'll do it again.
Thank you. And happy birthday, Councilmember Wall. Are there any more members that would like to speak at this time? Okay, closing call to the public. Item 6A is presentations, and we would like to call up Mr. Brian Hughes for an acceptance of a donation from the Michelle Gallagher Youth Foundation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. About 6 weeks ago, Denise Smith reached out to me about making a donation and working with the Community Services Department to provide scholarships for youth sports and other youth activities. The scholarship is in her sister's name, Michelle Gallagher, and each year they hold I believe this year was the 4th annual Michelle Gallagher Youth Scholarship Fund softball tournament. And so we met with her and they had a successful tournament, and I asked if she'd be willing to come here and make the donation in person. So with that, I'd like to invite Denise up to tell us a little bit about her sister, what they're doing with their scholarship money, and make the presentation.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Denise. How are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you for asking. So on behalf of the Michelle Gallagher Youth Scholarship Program, the family and the committee, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight to tell you a little bit about the work that we've been doing with the Michelle Gallagher Scholarship Fund, the purpose, and where we would like to see the funds or some of the funds applied to youth here in the city of Florence. So Michelle was a member of this community for almost 40 years. She was born and raised here. She attended school here, and she gave 18 years of her life as a member or as an employee of the Pinal County Sheriff's Department. In addition to that, Michelle was really productive in the community. She was a Little League coach. She did that for 10 years, also coached All-Stars. But she wasn't just a coach, she was also a mentor and a provider. And I say that because Michelle was really the type of person to help kids who didn't have. Michelle came from a family where we had the ability to have the shoes and have the gloves and have the money to pay for registration. And when she was presented with children who could not pay or did not have the means to be successful in Little League, she would take it out of her own pocket to do that. And that was just who Michelle was. And when we lost Michelle in January 2014, we lost that in this community. So as a result, the family and friends decided to gather to come up with a way to maintain Michelle's legacy and her memory in this community. So what we did was we started, actually our first tournament was in November of 2014. And it was a success, actually more than we had expected. We had actually netted about $10,000 our first year. Second year, a little bit more than that. Our third year was successful at about $14,000, and then this year, which we had this tournament in March, and we netted $16,000. So it's a combination of the community, friends, family, and others from other parts of the state who knew Michelle, who participate in this tournament, help volunteer to make this a success. So what we have been doing with the money is providing support to the local Little League program, which we have been doing since inception. And then as we realized that we're doing very well, we decided to extend it out. So we have extended out the opportunity for scholarship dollars for seniors in the city of Florence, or at the Florence High School. So up to this point, we have offered college scholarships in a little over $15,000. So I consider that to be very successful, considering we've just done this. This is only our fourth year in. And we'll be doing that again. But what we also realize is that we need to do more for the community and more for the kids. And I'll share just a real quick situation that happened. And actually, my mom approached me and told me that she had been somewhere within the city, and I don't know if it was at the recreation or where it was, but she had experienced a lady who had several children who wanted to enroll them in some type of program, and the lady told her that she didn't have the funds to do it. So immediately my mom comes to me and says, we have to do something else. We have to be able to provide for these children in this community. So that's why we're here today, to donate money to the city to help these kids who do not have the means to participate in pro-social activities within the community here in Florence. So I would like to ask for the city council, Mayor Walters, and the rest of the committee to give consideration to acceptance of a $2,000 donation. We will start with that, and I would like to be able to do this on an annual basis, and if we need more, then just ask for more and we'll be able to provide more. So
I think it's very admirable, and I know the children in this community very much. Your sister had a profound impact upon them, as well as what she contributed as a Little League coach. I knew her as a coach then, so it's very, very much appreciative. Sorry. Any members of council?
I just know that Michelle would be so, so proud of all that you're doing in her stead right now. I know your mother and your family, and I knew Michelle, and she was just such a wonderful person. Thank you so much.
And that's something that will very much be used in our community, so we really appreciate your thought and as well as your effort in doing this for the children in our community. We are an impoverished area, so that will be a benefit to a lot of our children. Thank you very much.
And our Little League opening day is on April 14th, so I hope that you'll be out there as well. So, Mr. Hughes, will you come up as well?
Well, I just wanted to, again, thank Denise for approaching me about 6 weeks ago and telling us about this opportunity, and we'll definitely put the funds to good use and make sure that the kids that need it get it. We've talked about an application process and how we can work through that and make sure that, again, it works, the process works, and I just want to thank her and her family and all her friends who helped make this happen, so thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise. We don't end this one. And we're very pleased to accept that, so thank you very much. Item B is our recognition of Brian Smith, Parks and Recreation intern, for his services to the town of Florence. Again, I'd like to welcome Mr. Brian Hughes to the podium.
So, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, we were very lucky to have our first Parks and Recreation intern this spring. And not just any intern, we had an intern come across the country from Illinois to be with our department. And he is a senior at Illinois State University. He needed a 12-week internship to complete his bachelor's science degree in Parks and Recreation Administration. This is his last week with us, and so we wanted to make sure that we recognized him for everything that he helped contribute to the department. He's learned all aspects of municipal parks and recreation during his time in Florence. He's helped with parent-child dances, spring break camp, special events, park maintenance, seasonal aquatic staff interviews, attended a spring training game with the senior center and the teens, which he enjoyed. The staff has been very impressed throughout his internship, and we wish him nothing but the best. John Nixon couldn't be here this evening, but he wanted me to say this. It says, I predict Brian Smith will experience a long and successful career in Parks and Recreation. Brian's friendly and accommodating disposition and his adaptability to any assignment will benefit him in the future. Whether he was waxing the slides at the Aquatic Center or supervising the spring intercession program, his attention to detail and desire to do good work was evident. So I think we were very lucky with our first intern, and I just want to invite Brian up here with the staff too. He's gotten to know everybody pretty well, and come on up, guys, take a picture. But we want to present this giant plaque of Arizona.
I don't think I've ever seen a plaque like that before. This is a first.
We
Is
didn't
this?
either. They do great work over at ACI. So, but we figured he could hang it on a wall or serve drinks with it or something. But congratulations, Brian. We've enjoyed having you here, and here's your giant plaque to take back to Illinois with you. And we hope that you come back soon. So.
Brian, tell us your favorite part about the internship.
Honestly, well, as Terry said, working with Terry. But honestly, I've learned, like Brian was saying, they put me in a little bit of everything. So I learned, hands-on. Because, going through school, you learn all, how to go through all the motions of everything. But then since I've been here, I've learned a little bit of everything. And I've been able to do it hands-on, so it's helped me learn, a lot about, this field and where I can go with it, so, yeah.
Do you see yourself relocating out into this area, or?
It's been, it's just been an idea. It's been an idea, but, you gotta get things figured out first and then see where I end up, but it's in the running, for sure.
All right, well, we're glad that you enjoyed the internship, and thank you for choosing Florence to have your intern.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, thank you.
Come on, you're in.
That should be the intern format for plaques. Good job.
I'm not sure Nikolai could afford the luggage to take it back to Germany.
We could talk about shipping it. Okay, our next item is item number C for the proclamation of April 8th to 14th, 2018 as National Library Week in the town of Florence. Mr. Brian Hughes, will you come on up here with me, as well as Mr. Jasper? So for National Library Week 2018, it states, whereas libraries are not just about what they have for people, but what they do for and with people. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions, and library workers and librarians fuel efforts to better their communities, campuses, and schools. And whereas librarians are leaders in their institutions and organizations in their communities, in the nation, and around the world. Whereas librarians continue to lead the way in leveling the playing field for all who seek information and access to technologies. And whereas libraries and librarians look beyond their traditional roles and provide transformative opportunities for education, employment, entrepreneurship, empowerment, and engagement, as well as new services that connect closely with patrons' needs. And whereas libraries and librarians lead their communities in innovation, providing STEAM programming, maker spaces, and access and training for new technologies. Whereas libraries are pioneers supporting democracy, affecting social change with a commitment to providing equitable access to information for all library users, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. Whereas libraries lead in working with diverse communities, including people of color, immigrants, and people with disabilities, offering services and educational resources that transform communities, open minds, and promote inclusion and diversity. And whereas libraries, librarians, library workers, and supporters all across America are celebrating National Library Week. Therefore, I, Tara Walter, Mayor of the town of Florence, Arizona, do hereby proclaim April 8th to 14th, 2018 as National Library Week and encourage all residents to visit the library this week and explore what's new and engaging with our library and librarian. Because you are our library leaders, transform the world. We have a lot of great things that are happening in our library, and I want you to just take a few moments to talk to us about it.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to say a few words to recognize National Library Week and some of the programs we have coming at the library. For 21 years, the library has held its bookmark competition to celebrate National Library Week. That involves entries from homeschooled children and public schools from all across the Florence Unified School District. And an independent panel of judges each year comes in, selects the top bookmark per grade level, as well as the top bookmark overall. And the top overall winner has their bookmark professionally printed and distributed in the library after the award ceremony. This year's award ceremony will be Friday, April 13th at 6:30 p.m. at the Florence Library and Community Center. And that is a free event open to the public. And after that, this year's winner's bookmark will be available in the library. Some other upcoming programs. We are coming out of the winter months, so programming slows down a bit right now, but we do have our summer reading program coming up in June and early July. This year's theme is Libraries Rock, which celebrates the role of music in education and literary development. And some of the programs that will be part of this year's summer reading program will include Didgeridoo Down Under, which is an Australian-themed program, mixing a bit of interactivity with some cultural and educational elements. And yes, they will bring a didgeridoo along. And another program, The Science of Sound, will trace the evolution of sound. And as part of that program, participants will get to record their own vinyl record, along with some other programs for people of all ages. So that will be coming up this summer at the library, and we encourage you to please contact us or visit us for current activities, events, and of course just to see what we have on offer. Thank you very much. I'd last like to just quickly recognize library staff. our children's librarian, Gloria Moreno, our adult services librarian, Barbara Scobie, Nicole Hernandez, our newest member of our team, our new office assistant, as well as our library aides, Abigail Kinney and Teresa Tinico-Ambries. Without their contributions, hard work, and dedication, the library would be a much poorer place. So I would like to thank them as well as you, and Mayor, members of council, thank you very much again.
Thank you very much, Jasper. This is for the library and you. Thank you. There's so many cool things going on at the library, and the collection that they have is amazing. Jasper's also trying to work on a program. Can I tell him just a little bit, Jasper? Because it's in the very beginning stages, so you need to know this. But there's a program, and it's a cultural pass program. And Apache Junction and Maricopa has this program. So I've been talking with Brian and with Jasper, and we're going to try to create something like that in our area that allows access to local or nearby venues that you could visit for free. This way you have an opportunity to go and participate and be a part of some of the events. And it's just to try to get people out there and give some experience to some children and families. So Jasper's researching and trying to work on that program, so thank you. All right, did you want to say anything, Mr. Hughes? Okay, our next item is another proclamation. This is a proclamation for the month of May 2018 as Building Safety Month. So Mr. Chris Salas, come on up. All right, so this is our proclamation. Whereas the town is committed to recognizing our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. Whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, and other in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure construction safety of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, which is a U.S.-based organization that brings together local, state, and federal officials that are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, play, and whereas our nation benefits economically and technologically from using the international codes that are developed by a national voluntary consensus codes and standards developing organization, our government is able to avoid the high cost and complexity of developing and maintaining these codes, which are the most widely adopted building safety and fire prevention codes in the nation. These modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildfire, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown guardians of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to keep America great. And whereas building codes save lives, the theme of Building Safety Month 2018 encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of building safe and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, and new technologies in the construction industry. Building Safety Month 2018 encourages appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure that the places where we live, learn, work, worship, and play are safe, and recognizes that countless lives have been saved due to the implementation of safety codes by the local and state agencies. And whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety and economic investment at home and in this community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us, local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Tara Walter, Mayor of the Town of Florence, Arizona, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2018 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join with their communities in participation of Building Safety Month activities. And here is Chris Salas to tell us a little bit about these activities.
Can I just use our normal microphone?
Absolutely.
We have several planned public outreach events. We're hoping to have those published here soon. We're still working those as a staff from approximately 6 to 7:30 p.m. each night. We didn't want to do it during the day, during staff hours, because that takes away from the work that we're already working on. Plus, we want to allow people to come home, have dinner, and then hopefully join us. We're going to have our first one is essentially, it's going to be broken down in 3 parts, where we'll have our permit technician help people understand the permitting process. Then we'll walk through like the plan review process and how all that takes place in the codes a little bit. Lastly, we'll be looking at how you schedule an inspection, the inspection process, the interaction that goes there. And then after that, there'll be essentially a Q&A session to allow people to ask specific questions, general questions. If you're in Florence Gardens, if you're downtown, if you want to put up a Ramada, I mean, there literally are an endless amount of projects. Another one is how technology is impacting our building safety environment from we're not going to touch on skyscrapers and the allowance of lumber now in that industry, but we're going to look at things that probably more like along the lines of what's something we see a lot of. We permit more than 20 permits for solar photovoltaic installations every month. That's one of our #1 permits. So we'll be looking at doing some education on that. There'll be some other ideas, again, is probably fire-rated construction assemblies. Another one is I think along the lines of safety around water, and we've actually partnered with Brian's group to talk about some of the codes as it relates to around pool installation, and I believe we're trying to get quite possibly, I think, vendors to participate in that as well. They're going to be donating some gifts as well. There is another event where I think that we're talking about how natural disasters, emergency plans, and I've reached out to both the chiefs, police and fire on, again, maybe having them have a little bit of participation on those classes there as well, or at least getting maybe some pointers on that there. It's something that we normally do as well as on the emergency response side of things there. So there'll be a lot of things. We're also going to have an open house on each Friday. I believe we're here on all Fridays that month. So we're going to have an open house, try to have all of our brochures at the front end, kind of with a table set out there to encourage people to kind of come during office hours. That is nothing new than any day, but we're just trying to encourage it. I mean, our front end is always open, but we're going to try to encourage that with people to come out and speak and ask specific questions on that. One of the things that I promised early on was public outreach on the building safety side. I have spoken at least probably now 5 times in the 5 parks area already. And so this is just a continuation of that. But again, this is more general. This is for everybody. We see a little bit more contractors as far as doing their complete projects in Anthem, but there are plenty of people who pull their own permits in Anthem. And the same thing in Florence Gardens and downtown. There's just a mix. Everyone decides to do their project their own way, and we admit it's a little bit of a confusing process. It's not necessarily meant to be extremely simple to build your own room addition to your house. It's meant to be a process which goes through the entire code review, if you will. We don't want anybody getting hurt, causing fire to their neighbors, their children being electrocuted, so on and so on. It's quite involving in that. So that's, again, we encourage everyone to come out. I know actually former Mayor Rankin has asked about those nights. He wants to come out as well. I encourage every one of you guys to try to see if you guys can make a night and be involved. Like I said, it's something I'm very proud of. It's our opportunity to kind of show off our knowledge to the community. I think we have some great people that work in that department, so I really look forward to it.
Can I ask a question real quick? Where will that information be posted online as far as what dates and times?
Yes, we'll be working with staff to make sure that gets posted on all of the available medians.
Thank you.
We want people to take advantage of it, so we will make sure that they're posted. I'm sure that Mark will be happy to get it in the newspaper for us, and we look forward to it.
Yeah, we'll be working with the town to be able to make sure that we, like I said, follow all the normal procedures to make sure that we can get as much public involvement as possible.
This is for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we have some members of Development Services here this evening, so would you stand up so we could acknowledge you. Curtis, Christian, Larry.
All right, so our next item is item E, which is a discussion on developing a document to assist the public in requesting ceremonial activities. So Lisa, can you move this? She's going to be in charge of it.
Mayor Walter reached out to us to ask us what the clerk's office could do to assist with developing a ceremonial type activities. About a year ago, you remember, we gave a key to the town out to a local who was on, I don't remember. America's Got Talent, as you know.
Claire.
America's Got Talent. And so that started the conversation of having a little bit more rules put in place. This is also available to us to where if someone requests a proclamation, they will give us information that will tell us what kind of things we're going to write. A lot of times, as you know, that we'll get proclamations asked for someone's turning 100 years old, and you really have to know about the person's life to write a proclamation that's going to be appreciated by the family. So this would be helpful to us. And another thing is council members are all asked, and the mayor is asked to go speak or to attend groundbreakings, attend ceremonies. And what this allows the clerk's office to do is to go through and post notice of quorums when we're going to have 4 members of council be present, or just to make sure that we do have someone there to speak on behalf of the town. And so we worked with Mayor Walters. We drafted this document, we sent it out. She requested us to send it out to all council members. We did that, and we are here today just seeking input.
So the item that's in front of us with the ceremonial request has been put out for council and public to go through and look at, and just to provide any feedback. This is an information-only session, and then it will be added to a future agenda to be adopted at that time. Is there any feedback at this time? I'd love to hear it.
Overall, I really appreciated the document. I thought it was very thorough. One piece is under the key to the town. It designates a person who performs an act of heroism. It says while in the town limits. I felt that that was really sort of unnecessary, just because if a person who performs an act of heroism, if that would be enough, since you also cover under the who can make a ceremonial document request, you said events or organizations no direct. Oh, sorry, let me drop down here. Ceremonial documents or keys to the town will not be issued for, and you cover events or organizations with no direct relationship to the town of Florence. So I felt that that was already sort of covered, and also I wanted to leave that open in case it were to happen in a different municipality.
I like that, thank you. Are there any other members, any feedback?
But you would specify that as a member of the town of Florence, so that we're not covering the whole state and our county? I mean, even if a person that lives in Florence did something outside of the town limits.
I like that, but also if it happens here in town and maybe there's somebody who came to visit here and it happened here, I still think that person might be, eligible. So that's why I thought the way that I did, but it certainly is up for.
So then you would want to leave that in town limits, because if they don't live in Florence, I mean, it can be.
Now, the one thing that is
Not sure how you want to do that.
could work with both of the suggestions is if we did remove it at the end, it states that we have, let me scroll down. The town reserves the right to modify or deny any request for a ceremonial document not in line or anything of that nature.
It also clarifies that no direct relationship to the town would not be issued.
Correct.
It has to have a relationship some way.
All right, I appreciate that. Is there any member of the audience that had an opportunity to read the document or has any feedback? All right. If you do, just send us an email, make a phone call, and we would love to hear it. Thank you. At this time, we are going to go on to item number 7. Item number 7 is the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are handled by a single vote as a part of the consent agenda, unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A is proclamation declaring April 2018 as Fair Housing Month in the town of Florence. Item B is resolution number 1658-18, which is an adoption of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, adopting the service agreement between SmartWorks Plus Incorporated and the town of Florence effective July 1st, 2018. Item C is authorization of the town manager to negotiate and execute a materials testing services contract to Nino and Moore for Florence Gardens Phases 4 and 5 paving improvements project T8 and T9 in an amount not to exceed $75,000. And item D is approval of accepting the registrar demands ending February 28th, 2018 in the amount not to exceed $1,586,715.05. So that is our agenda in front of us this evening. Is there anybody that would like any item removed at this time? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and the motion carries. Item 8 is new business. 8A is resolution number 1659-18, which is discussion, approval, and disapproval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, updating the established parks and recreation user fees. Mr. Brian Hughes.
Mayor Walter, Vice Mayor, council members. We like to look at our fees every couple of years. We actually started this process about a year ago to see if we were still in line with what some of the other municipalities are doing, and also looking at all our costs for doing programs and events. And so we didn't find any real significant changes, but there were 3 areas, or a few areas that I wanted to highlight here tonight. The last time we did this, we put a range in for a lot of our recreation program areas. And the reason we did a range was that allows us some flexibility throughout the year to make some adjustments if, say, the price of softballs go up or staff changes. We've seen minimum wage go from 8-something to 11 in January. So what we're trying to do is, as some of those things happen, we make some adjustments so that our fees can accommodate those changes. But 3 things in particular. So we expanded our ranges, mostly on the upper end, just so we could go a little bit higher if we had to, for both recreation and senior programs. For the Aquatic Center, we're proposing raising the daily admission fee by $1 for both youth and adults. So that would go from $1 to $2 for youth, and from $3 to $4 for adults. And then one of the other areas that we looked at was, it's actually a decrease in our private rental fees to accurately reflect staff requirements for private rentals. This is to try and attract folks like Core Civic and some of those folks who do employee appreciation parties. In the time we've been open at the Aquatic Center, we have not booked one private rental, and the feedback we've gotten is that our fees are as much or higher than Chandler and some of the other facilities. So when we initially created those fees a few years ago, we were ultra conservative. We had lifeguards on every corner and things like that. And since we've been running for a few years now, we've realized what it actually takes. And we realized that we probably priced it, we were trying to get full cost recovery on those private events, and we realized we don't need as many lifeguards. So we were able to go back and look and reduce those fees a little bit. And so hopefully by making this change, we'll attract some more private rentals that'll take advantage of the facility. The only other comment, again, we started this process about a year ago. We did take it to the Parks and Recreation Commission last July. They approved the recommended changes, and I don't think we've had anything significant since then, other than included our daily drop-in fees, which were in the past just prorated off our regular fees, but we wanted to leave that a little bit separate so we had some flexibility as well. So with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
I have a question about, you talk about the ranges for the various programs. And for example, the first one under recreation programming is adult sports individual. The range is $10 to $125. are those different for different sports?
Correct.
Is that,
Yeah, typically, let me see if I can give an example. Sometimes if we do tennis lessons, for instance, tennis instructors sometimes get paid significantly more
Right.
than other instructors. So we try and account for that in the budget for that particular program. And sometimes, as with pickleball, we're able to get instructors for free, and in some cases we don't have to charge anything for those types of programs.
Okay.
But different fees, and depending on their area of expertise, the instructor could want more. And so we'd like to, be able to do that. And again, with other sports, particularly with adult sports too, you'll see that those ranges are higher. Adult sports, we try and recover full cost recovery for our things. Those are nice to have. It's not an introductory for a youth person, youth sports program or things like that. So those fees are typically a little bit higher for those programs.
so when one of those programs are scheduled, the specific fee would be advertised along with that program?
Correct.
Okay.
As we develop the budget and go through that process, then we'll price it accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I know that we've had this advertised out for a while, in the newspaper and in social media, as well as it's been communicated prior at meetings. Have you received any feedback from the public since those notifications have gone out?
Mayor Walter, we have not. We published those social media. We did a advertisement on March 2nd and again on March 19th. We did not receive any feedback.
Okay, and I also noted it on our town website as well,
Right.
so.
It was up on March 2nd right away too, so.
All right, are there any other members of council that have any feedback or? All right, thank you very much. With that, we do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 1659-18, a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, updating the established parks and recreation user fees.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8B is resolution number 1660-18, which is discussion, approval, and disapproval of a resolution of Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a town core incentive plan request for Pinal County, APN 200-50-0660, case number PZ1817INF, and Mr. Larry Harner.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. It's my pleasure to bring this item before you this evening. As a brief introduction, as you're aware, development codes, zoning codes, such as what the town of Florence has, are generally focused on vacant and undeveloped property, as the example out on Hunt Highway, for example, with Merrill Ranch. Some communities, however, have recognized that not only is there undeveloped property, but there's also developed property that have different types of conditions, as does the downtown area of Florence, and therefore have adopted codes, ordinances, or different types of plans that addresses those existing conditions. Florence has had the foresight to be one of those communities. As such, we've adopted in the past the town core infill incentives and the redevelopment plan that addresses certain issues as it relates to the historic downtown area as well as the downtown area as a whole. The property in question is located at the southwest corner of Center and 12th Streets. As you can see, is outlined in red. Oh, the icon works. Cool. It's approximately 0.22 acres in size. The building itself, the main house, in this location, about where it actually says site, was constructed around somewhere in the 1880, 1890 range. And there have been several small additions over the years. Small additions to the house, the construction of a one-car garage that fronts on 12th Street, and some property line fences and walls. When initially constructed, the house, and let me go to the next slide, overlapped over what is now town right-of-way by approximately 7.5 feet. Right-of-way line itself extends beyond the back of sidewalk in this particular location, as it does in various locations in and around the downtown. While the property itself is outside of the historic district, it does lie within both the redevelopment plan area and the town core incentive plan area. The town core incentive plan allows the council to relax certain development code provisions if it's in the best interest of the property and of the surrounding area, and recognizes the historic downtown values and development fabric. The request tonight is threefold. It's first to allow for the abandonment of the 7.5 feet of property along Center Street, which would be considered excess right-of-way, and transfer and ultimate sale to the property owners, and that the existing building be grandfathered as far as setback from that street side yard. Secondly, to allow for a proposed two-car garage up in the front area of the property that would front on 12th Street, for it to encroach into the 12th Street front yard setback. And third, to allow for a 5 to 6 foot wall to encroach into the front yard setback, which basically would be in part the security for the swimming pool that exists up in the northeast corner of the property. The request overall is in concert with other older developed home sites and commercial development in and around the downtown. The Planning Commission heard this item on March 15th and presents the following findings: that the town core infill incentive plan is lawfully adopted in the district or created under the rules and guidelines established by the state of Arizona. The town core infill incentive plan seeks to remedy situations within the incentive district pertaining to undeveloped lots, underdeveloped lots, vacant structures, obsolete, inappropriate parcel configurations, and relatively low investment activity. The subject parcel was within the infill district, and the conditions and circumstances applicable to the parcel support the request. Also, the request supports the Town of Florence 2020 General Plan housing element in the area of promoting proper maintenance on both public and private properties, and educate and assist property owners whose properties do not meet existing conditions and standards, and also encourage redevelopment and substantial revitalization of the existing residential areas. To move on, just briefly, to show the site itself, the two-car garage is located in this area. Now, in this case, north is to the left. The swimming pool is located here, the existing home, and the property line itself where the wall configuration would go. Just very briefly, for your just general information, the elevations for the new garage are very much in context with the territorial appeal and architectural styles of the downtown general area. The Planning Commission found the request to be consistent with the intent of the town core infill incentive plan, and the findings support the approval of the request. And the applicants, Robert and Tamara Lyon, are here tonight if you have any specific questions of them.
Thank you. Mr. Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I just wanted to clarify one issue for you this evening, and that is the fact that tonight we're specifically bringing before you a town core incentive plan request. We'll be coming back at a later date to deal with the abandonment issue regarding the right-of-way. That takes significant amount of time because we have to notify all of the utilities to make sure that there are no conflicts, et cetera, and we want to facilitate this as quickly as possible for the Lions so that they can complete their project.
Thank you for clarifying that. That was one of the items I was going to bring up. What is, if any, implications if we approve this evening and for some reason there's negative feedback from what you just discussed?
Thus far, it's gone smoothly. We're confident in the approach, and once again, the improvement that this would allow in terms of the incentive is not in that area where the utilities are. It's separated from that and is actually on their property. Tonight will allow them, if approved, to be able to encroach upon our setbacks with respect to the garage, as well as the other things that Larry said, the front yard setback for the pool and the construction of a wall, which I believe we all want for public safety reasons.
Okay. Robert and Tamara, would you like to come up and say hi?
Can I ask a question while
Yes.
we're getting there? I understand, and thank you, Brent, for answering what would have been one of my questions. But I'm assuming that when you come back to us for the abandonment approval, that we'd be looking at the tabletop appraisal that was provided with this item.
Yes.
And do we have a pre-approval from the homeowners?
Yes. We have a signed contract with the homeowners regarding how that transaction will take place.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just wanted to invite you up if you had anything that you wanted to say at this time as well.
Thank you. I'd like to say, I heard the last time I was here, somebody congratulated the people that put on the car show. Whoever did the Country Thunder thing.
Yes.
For the whole community was absolutely awesome. The little kids, everyone. It was beautiful. But that was it.
We just wanted to say that we're happy to be new residents of Florence. We retired and moved here permanently, and we've been working with the building, and everybody has been very helpful to us to get our issues resolved.
Excellent. Where'd you guys move from?
Colorado Springs.
Wow, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Is this your first summer here?
We actually lived in Apache Junction. I retired from Ford Credit, and so we lived up there, and we lived up there 4 summers, so we
Okay.
kind of are familiar with it. But we still like it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, and I'm glad that you've had a positive experience with going through the process.
Yeah.
That's always great feedback to hear.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no other questions, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1660-18, a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a town core incentive plan request for Pinal County APN 200-50-0660.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item C is discussion, approval, and disapproval of the reappointment of Cayman Harmon and appointment of Sarah Estrada to the Library Advisory Board with terms to expire December 31st, 2019. Ms. Lisa Garcia.
Staff is presenting 2 highly qualified individuals to be on the Library Advisory Board. We've been advertising for this position since October of 2017, so we are very happy to present you with these 2 applicants, and with that, we will have a full board.
All right. With that, we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the reappointment of Cayman Harmon and, did I say that right? Sorry. Appointment of Sarah Estrada to the Library Advisory Board with terms to expire December 31st, 2019.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D is discussion, approval, and disapproval to authorize the town manager and town attorney to file a motion to intervene with the Arizona Corporation Commission on behalf of the town of Florence regarding case number WS 02987A 180050, Mr. Brent Billingsley.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, fairly simple item. There is currently a case in front of the Corporation Commission pertaining to Johnson Utilities. As you are very aware, there have been a series of public hearings very recently with respect to that. The most recent public hearing occurred last Thursday, and at that meeting, the Corporation Commission called out Pinal County, Florence, and Queen Creek and asked why we have not intervened, and subsequently provided an extension by 2 weeks, Ben, to be able to intervene. So our intervention, as it's a motion that you file, would be to intervene on behalf of our residents so that we can track the process.
Can I make a motion to go in executive session at this time, please?
You bet.
Thank you.
We need a second.
Yeah.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We will adjourn after executive session.
Motion that we adjourn from executive session?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, thank you for that. Reconvening back on item number D. Are there any questions from council? All right, with that, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the authorization, to authorize the town manager and town attorney to file a motion to intervene with the Arizona Corporate Commission on behalf of the town of Florence in regards to a case number WS-02987A-18-0050.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9 is our manager's report.
Madam Mayor, members of council, I have several items for this evening. The first item I was made aware of today, which is ADOT's about to start its Interstate 10 widening project near the town of Picacho, and it will be impacting the intersection of Interstate 10 and State Route 87, which you'll all know is the road that goes north-south into Coolidge towards Florence. It will be closed for 4 days, and I believe that begins April the 13th, so very soon. And that will be, once again, 4 days, the 13th through the 17th. So if you were thinking about heading up to I-10 through State Route 87, you might want to avoid that intersection since it'll be closed. Secondarily, it's something that the council is very aware of, but I wanted to make those folks in attendance tonight and those folks watching us on TV, Country Thunder is about to start this week. And as part of Country Thunder, there are always delays on State Route 79, especially southbound, but also northbound. And as somebody who has experience with those delays, they start early in the morning on Wednesday. So just be aware that in the mornings, in the evening, when the various concerts are getting out, there can be some congestion at the bridge in State Route 79. So just be aware of that. Now on to the good news. I got notice that our FTC, our Florence Teen Council, Brian, volunteered recently at the Women's Club Fashion Show. If any of you, I think a couple of you were there to witness that. They provided some music. They provided announcements of the folks with the fashion. And subsequently, we received a thank you letter from the Women's Club. Specifically, the Teen Council was thanked, as well as David, Robert, and Jaden for their participation. So thank you very much, Brian, for that. Next, I got a thank you note regarding our participation in the Caliente Parade. Apparently, well, as we know, we had a couple of different town departments throughout there participating. Excuse me, but during that event, there was actually an emergency. A gentleman went down, and our staff responded, and Peg Chapman from the group at Caliente sent us a nice note letting us know they really appreciated our response and the quality of the services provided. So thank you, Fire and Police. And lastly, I got an email last week from Mr. Hughes, and it says, I would like to pass along a big thank you and express my appreciation for all the staff at the Florence Recreation Center. My mother is turning 88 on April 2nd. She had a fall and she broke her kneecap while on vacation. The plans were that we would travel through Arizona and stay with she would travel through Arizona, stay with my husband and myself for a few days before continuing home. With her leg in a brace, I began to worry about her lack of mobility. She was sitting in my living room for 3 days, and that's not exactly what she had in mind. A friend of hers told her about the assisted living equipment loan program through the town of Florence. Apparently, she was able to borrow a wheelchair, and it made a world of difference in those 3 days and the visit from her mother-in-law. So she was very happy with the services provided through the loan program, which, as you know, is something that we approved and we have been running since that time. So thank you, Brian. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Next are our department reports. Does any department head wish to speak at this time? Any member of council have a question regarding those reports? All right, well written, very informative, and appreciate the consistent communication also. Item 11 is our second call to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak at this time? And closing call to the public. This is our call to the council. Councilmember Galeen.
I attended the Road to Country Thunder, and I really did enjoy it. There was a lot of people there having a lot of fun, so thank you very much for that event.
Thank you. Birthday member, Councilmember Wall.
Thank you. I also attended Road to Country Thunder. I brought friends of ours from Alaska, and they were very impressed with it. I also had a woman I'd never met before sit next to me, and it turns out that she's a winter visitor to Casa Grande and is from Baltimore. And she informed me that she has been to our historic home tour 3 years in a row. She lives in a historic home in Baltimore, and she was so impressed with Road to Country Thunder, and in specific terms, the visibility of our law enforcement staff and officers. And she said they were just so nice to talk to. She ran into one of them at the fudge shop, and it was a very non-threatening thing, but to see that kind of support from law enforcement made her feel very safe in that heavily populated area. So thank you, Chief, for your crew and having them out there to help us all have a great time, and we certainly did. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Larson.
Yes, I just wanted to remind the residents to stay safe during Country Thunder. Clearly, we all want you to make it home safe and enjoy yourselves. I attended the Economic Development Summit this last week with Karen, as well as some of our staff and Mayor Walter. And it was a great opportunity for Florence to really be a shining light, and for our, not just here, but also for regionally. It really showcased a lot of the things that we had going here, as well as the future opportunities that are available. I just wanted to say that everybody there spoke so highly of Brent and really put him up on a pedestal. But it was a great opportunity to meet some people that were very influential in our area. So thank you for that opportunity. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Woolridge.
I would just like to remind the public about the Horizon Health Open House. They are have an open house this Friday, April 6th, at the old hospital on Adamsville Road. That's between 1 and 3. So come out and help us welcome them to our community. And I don't have anything else to add. Road to Country Thunder's been covered pretty much, but I will say happy birthday to Karen.
All right, thank you. So we started out last week with our first Economic Development Summit. We had a lot of amazing participation. So I do want to thank Jennifer Evans as well as the staff, and Brent as well, just for the outreach, the panels that were put together. Lisa, you were an amazing moderator as well. The questions were very, very thought-provoking. We're moving in a positive direction. Our council had, brought together the strategic plan in 2016. We've been revisiting it and we've been working it, and there's a lot of great things that are happening in Florence. We had our Road to Country Thunder this past Saturday. Every year it grows larger and larger. For those of you that were in attendance, it was packed. You could barely move. Allie did a phenomenal job with our Parks and Rec, as well as all of the staff members that came together. Gigi and David, they're with our Florence Teen Council. They were walking around on stilts, as well as Coco. It's a little nervous for them, but they pulled it off. Bless them. I wouldn't have been able to. And our police and fire, again, even our performers made reference to the fact that they felt very safe. And in a time where, you never know, we have definitely put together amazing plans to ensure public safety, as has Country Thunder. Country Thunder, again, as it's already been stated a few times, traffic, it's always a little bit heavier, but it's well worth it. They put on an amazing event. We appreciate the partnership with Country Thunder, KMLE, and our Florence Greater Chamber of Commerce. So we are definitely looking forward to a fun and safe time. We are going to be making a motion to go into executive session, and we will reconvene to dismiss afterwards. With that, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, and the motion carries.